channel. My name's Adrian, and today I'm going to take my review and look of Xenosalvage, which is a DarkSpace Shadowdark campaign setting. And I'm just going to give you the brief outline. Aliens crash landed on Earth. We, beings, we are a curious species. We then experiment with the alien. The alien creates a crossbreed that then escapes, and it summons its alien buddies to come down. They all come to Earth. They pretty much flatten Earth, enslave the human race for around about 100 years, where we then have a rebellion, kick their butts, throw them off the planet, and then we are left with what's left of Earth. And we know the rest of the aliens are coming back. And in Xenosalvage, the players will play salvagers that are going around the fallen UFOs, the buildings and the places the aliens used to live, to go and salvage whatever science fiction, futuristic equipment, weaponry that they can arm themselves with for when the aliens come back. There's your plot. There's a lot to love in this. So as I always do with these videos, let me just show you where we can pick it up. So it is currently available on DarkSpace. It is PDF only currently. Print on demand will be coming. It tends to take normally around about 3 weeks to 4 weeks, somewhere around about that, to sort of test print and make sure it's all aligned, etc. So it will be coming in the future. Obviously, if you want the PDF copy now, then please pick it up using my affiliate link. If you want to wait for the print on demand, I'll let you know when it's available. It is printed by Menagerie Press here, which is Will MB's. I've covered several of his books already on this channel, a lot more to come. And it is co-written also by Than Gibson and Derek White. Is it the perfect trifecta? I think so. I do really, really like this. You're going to see why. I've got a couple of niggles, which I'll talk about as we go through the book. It's 48 pages. And the description is just going to, it's exactly what I've told you. The alien invaders, they landed, enslaved the human race. We managed to fight them off, and they're waiting to come back. But in this book, you will have the full details of the post-combined Terra. So Terra is now what Earth is called because of it's predominantly quite a wasteland, though there are some twists. I'll talk about that as we go through. So you've got the Shadowdark compatible gear. So you've got new xenotech artifacts, as you'd imagine, things the players will be finding and discovering. Full cyberpunk style hacking rules. Very much feels like it's taken direct from Cyberpunk, or actually from Cyberpunk Red. It very much feels. Psychic powers and feats. So DarkSpace is the Triad system. Jedi, basically, but for legal reasons, the Jedis can't be called Jedi, so they're called Triads. So we've got a load of new powers and psychic powers for them. You've got bioformula creations, which are potions and blending of bionics that they've taken from alien species and hybrid human species that are going to make really good it's not sort of magic items, but they do feel very much like potions, magic items with an horrible addiction rules. So good with some bad combined. Some new vehicles, the chase mechanics and spaceships, over 20 NPCs as well for the players to discover as they're going through what's left of the treacherous planet Terra. So that is it. So if you are going to pick this up, please do consider using my affiliate link. For full disclosure, Than did actually send me a copy of this. He hasn't asked me to review it, so I haven't paid for this. He sent me a PDF copy, and this is what I'm reviewing for you watching the video now. Right, let's just go straight over then and look at the copy. So here we got the front cover. And this really does sum up what the players will be doing in here. So you can see this crashed UFO here, and the 4 different players sort of scouting it out and deciding how they're going to try and get in. So it is created by, well, it's a joint enterprise between Menagerie Press and DM in the World. And then we're going to get straight into the content. It is all hyperlinked, which obviously I really do appreciate. It's going to take you through the introduction, characters, bioformulas, hacking, psychic powers, a load of new gear for the Terran. So this is human gear. We're then going to get into the Xenosalvaging place, and there's 2 pages of random salvaging equipment, things from bubblegum, which is it just makes me, well, it just amuses me that bubblegum's on there, all the way through to alien wear. Then we've got some of their weapons and artifacts, the vehicles, spaceships, NPCs, denizens, which is going to be monsters, new carousing rules, and then the end game credits. It does say that the game is compatible with Shadowdark, and you are going to need a copy of Shadowdark. It says you don't need a copy of DarkSpace. If you don't grab a copy of DarkSpace, you're going to be missing, because DarkSpace, I'll leave the link to the my review of DarkSpace at the end of the video, because DarkSpace does character creation different, and you're going to want to play those characters in this campaign, because DarkSpace just does this wonderful. I'm not going to spoil the review, but if you've never played DarkSpace, it changes the way characters are created. But we've got the timeline. So 1946, the first physical incursion lands on the planet. So they come into the area, and 1947 they crash, which I believe is Roswell. And then 1966, a failed bioformula experiment results in an escape of a beast, and it kills 46 humans when a bridge collapses. And then in 1996, planet-wide psychic manipulation causes the invasion to come down. Now, I'm a little bit of a nerd. 1947 was Roswell. Doesn't say it in here, but I think it does. 1996 was the year that Independence Day came out, which was massive when I was younger. And I think they very much taken the timelines from Roswell to 1996 to be Independence Day. Might be circumstantial. I generally don't know. And then it talks about 100 years later. The bit that blew me is this 1966, where a bridge collapsed, and they specify 46 people died. So I did a bit of Googling. And in 1967, the Silver Bridge collapsed in, I can't remember the state now, killing 46 people. So I don't know whether that's a coincidence, or whether that's 1966, which is the year England won the World Cup, obviously. But I don't know whether that is meant to be that bridge, the Silver Bridge that collapsed, or it's just completely made up. And I'm just reading too much into the 1947 and 1996 dates. But yeah, so we're now set in 2096, so exactly 100 years on from the invasion. So we've kicked their butts, we've thrown them off the planet. We're now going around the planet trying to find whatever we can, scavenging, to fight the aliens, because we believe they will be coming back. There's 4 factions that we'll talk about later on in the book that may get us to do some jobs. They may be fighting against what we're going to do, and it just sort of details all their motivations as well. This will take you through character creation. This is what I'm saying about why you're going to want to pick up DarkSpace, because you have species instead of ancestry, archetype instead of class. There are some new backgrounds in here, but it doesn't tell you how to create a character. So if you've only got the Shadowdark character and the Shadowdark cool rook, you're going to be creating fantasy settings. You're going to want to get your sci-fi factions in here, I think, to get the most out of this. We've got 20 new backgrounds, from the homesteader to the canine handler to the bounty hunter, so they are quite sort of human centric in here. Actually, most of the characters in DarkSpace are human centric, but you can make some weird and wacky alien ones, so go and check it out. I think it makes sense to own both. It really does. So let's just start then by looking at bioformulas, because actually that's the page we're on. That these are, say, scientists have been experimenting with aliens, and aliens have been experimenting with humans, and over the years they've created these bioformulas. They are addictive, so we've got some addiction issues over the right hand side, and some withdrawal effects that's going to take place. But in essence, they will create a formula that will either give you stat bonuses, AC hit points bonuses, speed, a mutation, maybe healing, and depending on the increase, the dice step increase, so from a D4 to a D10, will mean the difficulty will go from a DC 9 all the way up to a DC 18. Okay, so that's all that means. I'm going to flip over. There are some examples over the next page of things that you can do. Some of them will be instant, like healing and boosting and things like that, and they will last up for I think it's 4 rounds. Is it last? That's it, yeah. So they're either instants, things like grenades and healing, but if they are going to be adding some sort of effect to a character, they will last for 4 rounds. But you are going to have some withdrawal issues, and when you finish taking the effects, you're going to make a con save, and if you fail that con save, you are going to mark an addiction point. And as your addiction points increases over time, you will, once you exceed your wisdom score, you're fully addictive, and you're going to retire the character off. So you've got to be careful if you're going to take these. You're going to need a high con, you're going to need to succeed at your constitution checks, and you've got to be mindful of your wisdom score. So yes, they're powerful, but overuse of means it's a good chance you could give your characters back. Hacking rules, these are straight out of Cyberpunk. I've been reading a fair bit of Cyberpunk Red now over the last few weeks. Done a couple of reviews of their books, but in essence, the aliens use these cybernetic computers to communicate and talk amongst each other, and they will have set certain amounts of security in there, but to access it, unless you've got a rig in your head, which most people won't have, you're going to need a rig, and depending on how good the rig will be will determine how easy it is to do your accessing, control, or net. And these will be from 0 to +4, so that's what you're going to get to add to your D4, your D20 to try and achieve stuff. So you've got 3 different actions: so accessing, control, and net. Accessing is used for offensive capabilities, so actually getting into the network to go and find things, to destroy the programs, protecting the items, to go and move around. And then you've got things like control for maintaining and using the equipment and devices within there. And then you've got the net, which is going to protect you. So there will be programs in there trying to attack you. Details in then the prices of the rigs, so there are 1,000 credits for each +1 that you're going to get in there. And then you've got 3 different actions you're going to take, which is realistically the accessing, control, or net. And it will just determine, so if you're going to do accessing, you're going to use the accessing bonus. If you're going to use the control, it is your personal HP plus equals 10 plus your rig's control modifier, and then the net, you're going to use your person's AC at 11. Okay, so you're going to physically take damage, and you could potentially die from going into these access points. I like this because, like Cyberpunk Red, it's really sped up the whole process. We'll then take you through some hacking rolls, the difficulty they're going to be, and then different programs and things you can do. So you've also then got, it's on the next page, isn't it? Yeah, so you can randomly generate networks for the players, and they just will come in levels, and basically the players will start at level 1 all the way down. And if you let's say you're going to do a large one, you might have 5 or 6 different levels. You'll then use your network mode to determine the sort of environments and the quirks, the features, and any sort of dangers they're going to get. And then building it backwards, you can then go and use the programs and the malware to protect it. So you've got, for example, Hound. This is an anti-ice demon that resembles a large mastiff. Again, this really leans into the sort of cyberpunk. I think might have been Cyberpunk 2020, one of the first. I think that came out before Shadowrun. I think that had this idea of the networking and the software programs, but it's nice and quick. But it will allow the players to go and gather information and gives you that futuristic sort of interactions. And the thing I do appreciate about this, playing through the dice rolls on this, is it is quick. Because one of the downsides of Cyberpunk 2020, if you ever played it, is the netrunner. The whole of the session would be around them. And you can just build all this in quickly for the players to sort of work together. So looking at the psychic powers, so this is just going to give your Triad characters more things they can pick from. So you can either use the ones in the DarkSpace books, or you can just make them the psychic in here. So if they want to go down the body route, let's look at force field here. You can create an invisible solid barrier of psychic energy. You make a body check, and your total result of HP of the barrier. Focus, this is a focus spell, or sorry, a psychic power, not spell. Works the same. This may be maintained for multiple rounds with a DC of 9 body check. So that's, you are going to say, I think you're going to need a copy of DarkSpace, because each, whether it's be mind, body, or soul, would have a different attribute that you're going to have to roll on it, because it just talks about body checks. It doesn't actually tell you that body checks, I seem to remember body checks went off constitution, but I may be wrong. It's like mind, all the mind checks here, it's going to talk about an opponent's mind check. Minds came off the intelligence, actually it does let you know here. So let's look at mental illusions. You can cause creatures to perceive an illusion of your making. Make an opposed mind check against the number of targets equal to your level using their int or mind. On a success, the target perceives or reacts accordingly to the illusion. Again, this is going to keep a focus. This may be maintained for multiple rounds with an opposing check. Oh, that's harsh. That you've got to do an opposed check every single round. That's going to make it a little bit harder to get those mental illusions off. And then finally, you've got the soul ones. I think soul came off, I want to say wisdom. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. But these, again, we're going to get, let's go psychomancy. Psychometry, let's say. You sense the psycho energy of the place or object to glean memories of it. So that's going to be quite useful when you're going around the alien artifacts and areas. Some starting gear. So we've got some credits, as you'd expect when you're generating your characters. And we've got some starting with human-centric gear here from backpacks, rope. And then we've got some Terran gear, which is the additional stuff. We have got things like chainsaws, chem kits, and welding torches. So anything with an asterisk here will have a battery alongside. So when you use it, you're going to roll a d20. If you roll a 1 on that, the energy cell's just exhausted, and you're going to have to swap in and out a new battery as an action. More detail of the equipment. We're then going to get into more human-centric weapons, so things like hand tools, riot batons, sledgehammers, pistols. We've got some new traits in here. So we've got R, which is repeating. So this weapon has an alternating repeating mode, which you will allow for a second shot, but it is at disadvantage. And they've also got the BL, which is blast. This weapon does blast damage. Roll a d6 to determine the number of targets affected beside the intended target. I'm assuming that should have the word near in it, because you're only probably going to be shooting, because the blast is off the shotgun. I would expect that's probably going to be only hitting near targets, but I generally don't know. And that's how I'd be running it anyway. I wouldn't let someone hit someone else with a shotgun. Then we get the explosives, so Molotov cocktails, frag grenades, and they've got a lot of them going to have this 1U, which means one use in there. Some of it is AP, which is armor piercing, so things like landmines and plastic explosives completely ignore armor. And then we've got the DL, which is delay, so you can set some of these explosives up to actually work off a delay. Then we've got some armor, so things from leather jackets all the way up to a ballistic shield. So Xenosalvaging, which is what the player's going to be doing. So Xenosalvagers earn their credits by searching for abandoned xenotech and completing specific salvage jobs. This is going to give the players who's going to create the job and the locations that they're going to be exploring. And when they're looking for things, in general, you're looking for a normal check. So a DC 12 wisdom check to see what they find out. For discovering salvage in and up to their level. So this is the bit that made me quite sad in the book. And if this is the saddest part for me, then it's not a bad book, because it's got Xenosalvaging from levels 0 to 3. So we've got 100. Well, it's not. It's about 40, 50 items here. Say all the way from a pack of bubblegum all the way up to damage, but functioning small combine combat drones. But there's nothing else. It stops at level 3. And then I noticed here, note, salvage tables are 0 to 3 are present in this book. 4 to 10 plus will be available in further products. When they come in. When they come in, because that means my players can only get to level 3. Well, it doesn't mean you can only get to level 3. But you're not going to get more powerful things. But I do like the fact that more stuff is coming, more things are being written, which means hopefully more aliens, more weaponry, more alien ancient artifacts and things like that. So that's going to be really cool. And then we've got to randomly generate some sites here for the games master to create. So things like a quarantine zone, and then what's the quirk of the quarantine zone? So it's got a glyph warding, and then what features it's got a splintered bulkhead, and what dangers is a hidden pitfall. I like hidden pitfalls. Quite good that came out. Obviously, Shadowdark is a game that you don't want to just kill people with traps, but give them little hints and tips. So the post-combine Terra is a section that is now just going to detail a little bit about what's happened to Earth. So Terra may not be a nuclear wasteland, but for many people it might as well be. However, it talks about because of what the aliens did to the planet, there are where there was deserts, so think about the Sahara Desert and stuff. Now some of those are unnatural, they've got unnatural vegetation, alien plants in there, so all sort of twisted jungles and things. So as a games master, you use your imagination. But it will talk about some specific zones as well. So we've got the Terran Union zones. So these fortified mega settlements are built on top of former resistant strongholds. So this is where the sort of humans hung out and hang out now. The Barter territories, which are the Barters is one of the factions that we'll come on to in a bit. That they're kind of nomadic humans that have kind of tried to hide away from the aliens and rebel, and they were one of the first sort of rebellions, it feels, to sort of get humans going to sort of attack. And then we've got the CRD enclaves, so these are towering fence observation drones, and these are one of the areas where the aliens actually lived and sort of their enclaves. So that's going to be it's probably going to be one of the first few places the players are going to sort of head into. To give you a little bit more information about zones of interest, so you've got the Umbral Horizon zones. So these regions are perpetual darkness as far as the eye can see. Night vision is useless in them, and light sources only last an hour. That should sound familiar to Shadowdark fans. Dimension warp, so pocket universes or zones of non Lucidine physics have failed the alien tech. Then we've got psionic echo fields and drop fields. So drop fields of what we're seeing at the front of the book. So they're splattered across the globe. The drop fields are where their crafts are half buried sources. It very much feels like is it Jeddah that's from the Force Awakens film, where Rey is going through all the deserts and going inside the ships. That is the feel I've got for these sort of drop zone areas. Traveling around the planets, we've got highways of the dead, we've got rails. So highways of the dead just seem to be in the description, sort of long, straight sort of highways that again, I'm going to do that Star Wars reference where there's a lot of the Star Wars planets have like those big highways that just a straight line where the players, you just see people driving on. So I think that's that. And you've got the salvage rails, which are sort of maglev aliens, which is the sort of magnetic railways that go across. You've got sky lanes, so where they can sort of fly through actual lanes. And then finally, beast back routes. So if you want to go on a six-legged hound of beast of burden, or post-invasion Earth is filled with creatures altered by the alien experiments, radiation, or generational survivement. So some have been tamed, others will merely tolerate the riders. Culture and society is going to talk about where humanity now is. So it is a time of peace, but humans are fully aware they're going to be coming back. So having seen what went on over the last 100 years, you've now got former resistance fighters that have created their own militia. Their religion has been splintered. There is a unique religion that goes on, which is it Zetan? I think it's pronounced. Which it actually describes more of cults than religions in here. And so Xenoscavengers are both feared and romanticized. So the players are going to be, well, it's pretty brave. So people are going to love what they do, but also there's certain factions aren't going to like them, which is quite nice actually, because we now get onto the 4 factions. I'm not going to dwell on these too much, but each of these factions will tell you their background, how they got together, and how they feel about the other 3. So the Terran Union is the president and former brigadier general. It almost feels much like, well, we defeated the aliens, so I'm now in a place of authority. Do what I say, I'm going to run the world. The Barter clans are the sort of the fringe survivors that are out living in the wilderness, and they're called the Barter clans because they don't really believe in money, and they are sort of hiding away, the sort of nomads, as you could call them. We've then got the Council of Recovery and Development, who Dr. Siobhan Levinson actually worked very closely with the president, but she doesn't really believe in his morals and the way he's trying to deal with preparing Earth. So she's actually got her own ideas, and she'll be asking the players for help as well. And then you've got the sort of religious cult, as it's more called in here, which is the Zetas Chosen. I believe that's how it's pronounced. So these are the 4 major factions that it just sort of gives you as a guide for the world. And then we've got the xenotech faction. So I think pretty much the rest of the book now is really cool sci-fi, weapons, armor, explosions, vehicles, and then cool NPCs to throw at the players. So we've got different types of plasma, light, medium, heavy plasma weapons, new armor sources as well. Then you've got things like anti-grav discs and stuff. So some of these artifacts, but you'll see all the artifacts over the next 3 pages, I think it is, yeah, 3 pages, do not have costs because they can't be bought because they're alien artifacts. These are things the players are going to go and find and discover when they're out in all the alien places finding stuff. Let's pick on, well, they're going to need, if they're going to want a deck run, so you're going to need one of these Xeno decks here to actually help them get in. But let's pick on the neural whip. So a tightly wound cord of Xeno weave powered by a hand grip. Benefit: successful melee attack, target is grappled. They've got to roll a DC 12 strength to break free. Takes 1d4 damage and has disadvantage against mind psychic powers. Umbral grenades. Let's go with grenades. I like the fact they're described. A black, glossy black xenoalloy sphere with an activation button and timer. It feels double near the area with pitch black darkness. It lasts for 10 minutes. It can be set to immediately activate or given a timer of up to 1 minute. And then you've got the Xeno Weave suit. Advantage against resistance to extreme heat and cold, and can be worn under armor. That's going to stack quite nicely. Vehicles are all, well, they're sort of statted in a way that should be very familiar to anyone that's played Shadowdark, because they've got ACs, hit points, the attacks. These are very much just statted like monster stats. Gives you the levels. It does say once the hit points go to 0, it becomes disabled and no longer functions. And it's up to you. You do make death saves, and you can decide if you want to make it blow up at the Games Master's discretion. Flying or driving the vehicles will depend on different attributes as well. So strength will be used for towing and ramming, dexterity, gunning and piloting, constitution for harsh terrain, intelligence, navigation, wisdom doing sensors and tracking, and charisma will be any sort of deception or intimidation. The chases section, very small. This is probably one of the smallest chases I've ever seen, and you're just making opposed rolls, piloting rolls against each other, and whoever succeeds, if you both succeed, you maintain the same distance. As people fail and succeed, you'll either get closer or further away to either be able to ram or, actually escape from the pursuit. But we've got this Reticulan Reticulan, I think it's pronounced. I've actually ignored deliberately what the aliens are called because I can't pronounce the name. So it's up to you how you do it. And I've managed to stumble across it by accident here. But this is a towering 3-legged walking vehicle with a menacing eye-like sensor ray. We've then got a Terran tilt rotor as well, which is a Terran assault copter fitted with I've gone that word again, Reticulan, I think, hoverpods replacing the monster. Let's just stick with aliens. I'm a little bit more comfortable reading out aliens. We then get 2 spaceships, both from the aliens as well. It will give you the actions that you need to do, sort of movements, weapons, things like that. And we've got, I think it's just 2 additional ships. Yeah, so these are 2 functioning ships. If you want more ships, I'm just going to plug, again, this isn't mine, but Ether Dark is it's doing late pledges on Kickstarter. I've reviewed that. It works. A lot of people talk about this. It works perfectly well with DarkSpace, but this covers ship-to-ship combat, crews, things like that. So if you kind of want to expand it, I think that's definitely something you should look for in addition to DarkSpace as well as this. But yeah, it's just going to give you access to make even more ships. So we've got 2. There is 1 ship in the main DarkSpace book as well. So we have got 3 here. And then we've got some really cool NPCs. Now, when I was originally going through this, I was like, okay, so we've got a load of the alien creatures in here, but I thought the aliens have left. And then you go, you haven't, because they are going around ex-alien crafts, alien buildings, and some have been left to guard it, which it tells you in their descriptions, and others will just happen to be there because they're science experimentation. Some of them are programs and robots and droids that have been left to protect these certain places as well. So, for example, he's one of the alien Psy troopers. So he's one of the workforce. He's highly intelligent, combat trained, mildly psychic, grey-skinned, gaunt, large-headed being with unnerving black eyes, with all the stats. So they are blinded by bright light, so something to remember there. But they are clever. They get an extra D4 damage when attacking with surprise, and they get this ability for telepathy. There are some other guard officers in here. Then you've got this elite guard dogs trained to sniff out the aliens, the Greys. So yeah, it's good. It's good. And then finally, we're going to close the book off with just brand new carousing, which is a bit more in tune, as you'd imagine, with this post-Earth world. The Terran world that we're called. Still using the same prices and the same bonuses all the way up to the +14. But I'm not going to read out any of these. You can go and just discover this in your own time. And then finally, I said the writings by Than Gibson, Derek White, and William M.B. And then a variety of artists are in here as well. And that's it. That's what's in your book, like your zine. And I'm sure you've now just on DriveThruRPG going, I want print on demand. I'm going to wait. Oh, actually, I want the PDF, so I've got it now. There's so much in here. I don't know whether I stumbled across an Easter egg, the fact that it's, Roswell all the way up to Independence Day, and that's deliberate or accidental. I really don't know. I'm hoping one of them will just put in the comments down below and let me know, because I never speak to creators when I'm doing a review, because I don't kind of want to know. I want a review on what I've been looking at, not what I know about what's going on, because that's the way that you're going to be reading this. But it's such a great idea, being that scavenger, to go out and it's completely human centric. But obviously, if you're going to use DarkSpace, you can put in some of these sort of aliens or the android sort of races if players want to go down those routes. I think you're going to need DarkSpace as much as this book says you don't need it. You do. To get the best out of this, you're going to need DarkSpace. So you're going to need to buy Shadowdark. You wouldn't be watching this video if you didn't have Shadowdark. You might be watching this video if you don't have DarkSpace, but DarkSpace you can go and pick up. It's not that much if you want just the PDF, because you're going to want to create the characters in line with this. But DarkSpace is going to add to the rules, because especially if you're going to want to play a Triad, you're not going to understand how the Triad rules actually work and the effects and what dice rolls to do. So you do need it, guys. Just put it in your book. Go and buy DarkSpace, because you're going to have to, and more than likely you're going to want to. I'd say you're then going to want to buy Ether Dark, and then you've got everything you need for the sci-fi setting. Because what I love about this is, yes, it's based on Earth, but it's giving you the facility, because you've got some spaceships, to actually go out and discover what's in space a little bit. Because I forgot to read it actually. There's parts that talks about these spaceships that you can clearly see from Earth that are floating in the night skies and stuff. And obviously, because you can then fix some ships up and actually go out and then discover some larger ships that are out there, which I'm sure more books will be coming that will put these into more details, so that you can make books with the Ether Dark book as well, if you do pick up that. But this is such a good idea. It's so is it Jeddah for Star Wars? I think it may well be. I haven't watched Force Awakens since watching it at the cinema, so it's been a while. But anyway, back to the book. I think this is a really good book. I was really surprised, because I wasn't sure what to expect from it. And I think the fact that it's based on Earth, and it's going to be that sort of Planet of the Apes discovery of, not quite the discovery of Planet of the Apes, if that makes sense, but we've got that end of world things that's happened. And then you've got the 4 factions trying to decide how Earth should unite. And there's also that element that it kind of hints on in the book, that there will be people that actually side with the aliens and want the aliens to come back, and don't want the humans to be in charge. So you've got a lot to actually create and work on with, I should say, with what's in here. So of course I do recommend this. This is absolutely fantastic. Than and Derek, I say I love DarkSpace. I think it was my number 4 sort of campaign setting for Shadowdark. And if they keep bringing out things like this, it's going to just keep notching up towards that #1 spot, because it does work very, very well, sci-fi, with Shadowdark, and especially with well-written rule books and expansions like this. So I'm going to leave it there. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. If you are going to pick this up on PDF, please do consider using my affiliate link. If you need to wait for print on demand, once print on demand is available and I'm aware of it, I'll just update all my socials to let you know and put links in to grab it then. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.